WION. You're watching Gravitas with me, Achal Vora. The next couple of weeks are crucial in Pakistan. Will there be a coup? Will Raheel Sharif get an extension? Nawaz Sharif is under immense pressure. What is Imran Khan planning? That is only our first debate. And after that, the family feud that came out in the open in Lucknow. UP is the most populous Indian state. All of that over the next 60 minutes. First, the headlines. In a public family feud, the ruling Yadavs of UP have come out against each other, all members of Samajwadi Party, the ruling dispensation of the most populous state of India, UP. Power tussle at Tata's. Indian business giant Tata Sons removes Cyrus Mistry as its chairman, names Ratan Tata instead. Nawaz Sharif may announce the new army chief to deal with the army and Imran Khan, or he may keep the existing one. The former cricketer, meanwhile, is pulled up by the court over attack on PTV in the protests organized in 2014. Will Turkey keep the promise? Turkey joins the battle against the Islamic State in Mosul after receiving a request from Kurdish fighters, the Peshmerga. WikiLeaks claims that Greenpeace had sought help from Hillary Clinton's campaign chief to reach out to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The two Sharifs and the Khan. Nawaz Sharif is under pressure. What is he going to do next? What will the next 3 weeks look like in Pakistan? What is Raheel Sharif thinking? Who are his possible successors? All of that over the next 30 minutes. But before that, the story that was filed by my colleague Taha Siddiqui. What's happening on the ground in Islamabad? Have a look.
Cricketer turned politician Imran Khan has announced plans for a rally on November 2nd that he has promised will paralyze the capital Islamabad. Khan wants Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif to resign, saying the recent Panama leaks is proof of high-level corruption involving Sharif's family. He seems to have some public support.
अदालतें फैसले ना करें तो सड़कों पे आना पड़ता है और इमरान खान साहब बिल्कुल सही कर रहे हैं और हम उनका साथ देंगे।
जो स्टाइल उन्होंने मुख्तलिफ टाइमों पे इख्तियार किया है, पहले एक धरना दिया है, अभी फिर वो धरना देने के प्रोग्राम में है, लाहौर में उसने जलसे किया है, रेवंड का मार्च किया है, तो ये कोई तरीक़ाकार मुझे समझ नहीं आती।
वो कोई गलत चीज़ तो नहीं कर रहा, फंडामेंटल राइट यूज़ कर रहा है। वो क्या कह रहा है कि इंसाफ करो, अगर उसने कुछ किया तो उसको मतलब वो ये नहीं कह रहा सजा दो, वो कह रहा है इंक्वायरी करो बस।
Many are unhappy over his reference to the third force, pointing out that the army's dominance of Pakistan is the reason why political democracy has never grown and matured there.
There are certain elements who would try to create some sort of gap between the understanding of the military and civil leadership, and they would love to exacerbate the fault lines to put pressure on the government. And the best way is to drag in the military as if it's backing Imran Khan, and that is the message he wants to send to his own constituency, and that is what he tried to scare the government.
There's growing speculation that Sharif may name the new army chief in the next few days, if only to preempt any move by the current Chief General Raheel Sharif to throw out the Prime Minister. If the government announces the name of the new army chief before Imran Khan's planned protest on November 2nd, observers say that it will end all speculations with regards to any military intervention. This is Taha Siddiqui with cameraman Rao Bilal reporting for WION from Islamabad.
All right, so if Nawaz Sharif does decide to name the new army chief, it would end all speculation. But will he keep the gentleman already there? Is it his choice anyway? We've got our panel. Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow with Vivekananda International Foundation, is joining us. Aisha Siddiqa, political commentator from Pakistan, would be joining us soon. And also General Talat Masood, Army veteran from Pakistan. Welcome to all our guests. Let's first go across to Sushant Sareen. Sushant, we've discussed this topic earlier as well, but these couple of weeks that are ahead are very, very important for Pakistan. And every day there are meetings and all this chatter that's coming from Islamabad. What is your assessment? Is Nawaz Sharif going to announce a new army chief to end speculation, or will he be in a way forced to give extension to Raheel Sharif in order to make peace with the army, keeping the fact in mind that Imran Khan is going to launch the second round of his protests very soon?
See, I don't think he would like to give an extension to Raheel Sharif because, over the last year and a half or so, Raheel Sharif has built a larger-than-life image of himself. And frankly, the two Sharifs are posited against each other, and the general media and the public perception is in favor of Raheel Sharif. So it's a no-brainer that an elected Prime Minister would not want an army chief like Raheel Sharif to stay on, give him another extension of an year or maybe more. So that is at least what Nawaz Sharif would not like to do. Whether that is forced down his throat, I would have some doubts whether it can be forced down his throat just yet. Partly because there are a number of other guys who are in the line, who are very close to becoming army chief. I'm not sure that if it will go down well within the army to that extent. So he might have something to play with on the issue of extension. Then the question comes as to who he will appoint and when he will appoint the next chief. I don't think, and I think this is not some kind of a secret, it's not going to be the top guy. I would be very surprised if it is the top man on the seniority list. Partly because of his linkages, he has two brothers in the army. You don't want three brothers, one who's a full general, one who's a 3-star general, and another who's a 2-star general, running, being appointed. So I think that can be safely ruled out. The others are up for a toss. I'm not entirely sure if Nawaz Sharif would want to go with Raheel Sharif's advice, although that could be one of the issues which could become a matter of a tussle between the civilians and the military.
Right.
But we have to see how that plays out. As to when he will appoint, I think until now, from at least what is available in the public domain, the summary hasn't been moved. So there is a certain procedure which has to be followed. Despite Mr. Nawaz Sharif, having a rather monarchical kind of style of governance, there is still some procedure
there has to
he
be
has
a procedure
follow.
that has to
So
be
I
followed.
don't
We
think
take
he
your
can
point.
conjure
We
up
take
a
your
name
point. Let me
out
go
of the
to
blue.
Right. Let me go to Aisha Siddiqa there. Aisha, you heard what Sushant has to say. Essentially, there is a lot of uncertainty as to when Nawaz Sharif will announce the next chief, whether he will announce it, whether Raheel Sharif will continue to stay or not. Before we talk about pressures that are playing on Pakistan's Prime Minister, I want to get your assessment from Islamabad. What's really happening there? Is Nawaz Sharif going to make peace with Raheel Sharif, let him stay? Does it even matter who the next army chief is, considering it's the institution really is the army there, and it doesn't really matter who the next chief is going to be?
See, it matters who the next chief is, because, on certain issues, I mean, from India's perspective, it doesn't really matter who the next chief is, because the India policy is very central to the army's policy. So it's not going to deviate. And there's, no army chief would want to kind of deviate drastically, like Musharraf did. And we know what happened to him. But what is important is, from a civil military perspective, a gentler army chief who has who's a bit kind towards the civilian regime, any kind of civilian regime, is very important. The major friction between Mia Nawaz Sharif and the army has always been that whenever he's been in power, and I'm talking specifically about his second term, he's managed to kind of divide the army a bit. I mean, there are some who would follow him. And what we noticed when that in the, when was it, last year, when Nasir Jandua, who's now the NSA, he's counted as one of those corps commanders when he was a corps commander, who would be a bit more sympathetic towards the civilian government. And so is apparently General Javed Iqbal Ramde, who's in running for this position, and a couple of others. Now, actually, what I've heard is that the battle is between actually five people. That's General Raheel Sharif for extension. Then you have Zubair Hayat, who's his choice. Then you have General Nadeem Ashfaq, who is also the army's choice. But then there is Lieutenant General Qamar Bajwa, who's slightly mellow on the civilian government, and Lieutenant General Javed Iqbal Ramde. Now, apparently, the Prime Minister is keeping it close to his heart. Now, Sushant was saying that it's a monarchical way of governance. That may be so, or that may be the perception. The thing is that given Pakistan's civil-military relations history, I think any Prime Minister would be very cautious of what is a man he would want to select.
Absolutely. We want to come to that, Aisha, in a bit. Before that, we just also wanted to talk about pressures that are playing on Nawaz Sharif and what he's likely to do. And then perhaps at length we could discuss all these possible successors of Raheel Sharif. We've got that information and I certainly want you to throw more light on that. But for the moment, if we could just focus on pressures that are playing on Nawaz Sharif. We prepared this graphic play. Let's bring that up. Panama leaks. These revelations are against his children, and that essentially is something that's playing heavy on Nawaz Sharif. This is something that Imran Khan is using in quite a big way against Nawaz Sharif. Remember, these allegations are against Nawaz Sharif's children. Now, Imran Khan is demanding Nawaz Sharif's resignation. That is another sort of factor that's playing heavy on Nawaz Sharif. He's announced protest very soon, beginning of November, end of October. Also, he's under pressure from the army, of course, as he's always been. Nawaz Sharif could deflect pressure by appointing a new army chief, or he could make peace with Raheel Sharif by just going with his choice. Going back to Sushant and Aisha. First, Sushant, to you. Sushant, how do you read these several pressures that are at play as far as Nawaz Sharif is concerned?
Look, Imran Khan is certainly a factor, but, and I don't want to sound facetious, Imran Khan is playing the same role that Raj Thackeray has played vis-a-vis Karan Johar, in a manner of speaking. He has really no case, because on the very issues on which Imran Khan is targeting Nawaz Sharif, Imran Khan himself stands to lose or stands to be disqualified. After all, he didn't declare his offshore company. Some of his close cronies also did not declare their companies. In fact, I don't think there's any politician, whether in India or in Pakistan for that matter, whose hands are going to be completely clean, and who's going to come within the ambit of what Aisha would know. I'm talking about Article 62, 63. So I don't think that is really the issue. So the issue is more political. Imran Khan is making the push. Obviously, he's receiving the go-ahead from some quarter, at least that is the perception. So that kind of compounds the problems for Nawaz Sharif. Now, regardless of who he appoints the army chief, see, I would go along with Aisha to the point where she says that, if there's a gentler kind of a guy, somebody who has some empathy for the civilians coming into the seat of power, that would be a good thing for Pakistan, perhaps. But the problem is going to be that no matter who comes into that seat, he has to address his constituency, which is the army, which has its own mindset. So he will have to address that, and that is always going to fall foul of what the civilians want to do.
Right,
so that contradiction will have to be managed.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
I don't see how, regardless of who Nawaz appoints, how he can get rid of that.
I think we sort of understand that, but the point that we're sort of wanting to discuss here is, what is Nawaz Sharif likely to do? We've got last 30 seconds. Aisha, I would like a quick word from you. We'll take a break and then we come back to who are the possible successors of Raheel Sharif and what Raheel Sharif is planning. But I like a quick analysis from Aisha Siddiqa here on what does Nawaz Sharif at the moment want to do? What can he do? Aisha.
Apparently, he's keeping it close to his heart. I mean, I think it's about a week or 10 days left. And he wants to kind of continue with this mystery. So that, that gives him space to maneuver and don't forget that now with other names there, he wants to make partners in the army if the idea is to isolate Raheel Sharif.
All right, thanks very much, Aisha, Sushant. Stay with us. We are going to continue this discussion. Let's take a break. When we return, we talk about who are the possible successors of Raheel Sharif. What is Raheel Sharif, arguably one of the most powerful men in South Asia? What is he thinking? Take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're talking about the possible future of Nawaz Sharif in Afghanistan. He's about to select a new army chief. That is, if things go as procedure laid, or if Raheel Sharif is going to have his own way. Raheel Sharif is the current army chief. He's set to retire soon. Will he? Will he not? Will he seek an extension? Will one be given to him? What is Raheel Sharif thinking? What's next for him? What does he want? Let's have a look at some of this information. Now, publicly, the army has said that Raheel Sharif intends on retiring in November as the set date. But he is an army chief who's been credited for Zarb-e-Azb. This is their anti-terror fight. Though they've been selective, that's the allegation. He may stay to finish the job, as they say, may use India's surgical strike as reason to stay back. That does impact his legacy. If he retires, he may promote a man, his man, for the job. Now, who are the possible successors when it comes to being Pakistan's next army chief? We're going to pull that up for you. That's the first gentleman there. Zubair Hayat, Lieutenant General Zubair Hayat, serving Chief of General Staff. Then we've got General Ishfaq. General Ishfaq belongs to the Azad Kashmir Regiment. Then there is Lieutenant General Javed Iqbal Ramadeh leading Bhawalpur Corps, reportedly Nawaz Sharif's preferred choice. We'll get Aisha Siddiqa to tell us more. Lieutenant General Kamar Javed Bajwa, he's the IG of Training and Evaluation. Let's go to Aisha Siddiqa. Aisha, I know you were talking about it earlier. Let's get more perspective from you on this. I've got two questions for you. First, what is Raheel Sharif thinking? What, in your assessment, does Raheel Sharif want at this moment? And out of these possible successors, who is a gentler army chief, so to say, and who isn't? Who's a Nawaz Sharif man? Which one is Raheel Sharif's choice?
You see, there are two theories about Raheel Sharif. One is that Raheel Sharif is a sharp man, very scheming. The other is that actually all these 3 years that he was there, he was actually being controlled by a coterie of generals. So he was actually a teddy bear who was being run from behind. There are these two theories. But Zubair Hayat definitely is one of those who's considered to be amongst that coterie of generals who would give him ideas, who would, would give him that push. Now, then there is this another theory, which is that what he's interested in is an extension, at least for a couple of years, because in a couple of years or 3 years, it's his team of men that would have matured to be picked up as the new, as the next army chief. So we're talking about Rizwan Akhtar, who's DGISI. We're talking about perhaps Asim Bajwa, who's DGISPR, and we're talking about there's General Bilal. So his men would be there, which means more hawkish generals. Now, it's interesting that the way Nawaz Sharif has been pushed, and Nawaz Sharif right now is keeping the cards to his heart. And therefore, when people argue that in this recent Cyril Almeida controversy, that, it was probably the government which leaked, I seriously have my doubt if the government would be a possible beneficiary. I mean, he is very cautiously trying to bide the time and make his decision.
Right,
now,
but Aisha, which one? Right, Aisha, just to stay to the topic here, you've spoken about what Raheel Sharif is thinking, but out of these possible options, who is a Sharif, who's a Nawaz Sharif choice and who's a possible Raheel Sharif choice? If you could throw some light on that, and we'll go to Sushant.
Well, apparently Nawaz Sharif's choice is General Ramadeh and General Kamar Bajwa. And for Raheel Sharif, it's General Zubair Hayat, followed by General Ishfaq Nadeem. And what one has heard from very pro-military circles is that one is going to be likely to become the army chief, and the other is going to be the chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee.
And Sushant, has it ever happened in Pakistan's history that the army chief has actually been, as procedure demands, one picked up by Pakistan's Prime Minister, perhaps only Musharraf, who was picked up by Nawaz Sharif, and then in a coup he was removed?
No, it's not just Musharraf. In fact, even General Raheel Sharif was picked up by Nawaz Sharif. He superseded one general, kicked the other one, the number 2 man, upstairs as chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff, and finally appointed Raheel Sharif. So I see, to
But
my
Raheel
mind,
Sharif,
if Nawaz
is he really
Sharif
a
was
Nawaz
to gird
Sharif
up his
man?
loins, I would imagine. No, but see, no army chief will remain a Nawaz Sharif man. See, that is the logic of the situation. Regardless of who he appoints, that guy will have to remain relevant within the army, which means that he will have to represent the army's interests with the civilian government and literally breathe down the neck of the civilians. That's the logic of the situation. So regardless of who Nawaz Sharif picks up, it's a bit of a mug's game. The only thing is that if he was to actually firm up his resolve and stick his course, I don't see what the generals can do. I don't see how they can depose him at this point in time in the next couple of weeks. There is really nothing on the ground that will justify such an action, unless of course they make the court sack him, but otherwise they can't do it. And if they do it, they will be held to pay in terms of the kind of political destabilization that will come about, the fact that, you know, you have these big grand projects like CPEC and other things which will, go up for a bit of a toss. So there is a lot that can go wrong. I don't see how they can throw Nawaz Sharif out. The question is whether he will keep the courage with him and stick the course. And remember, when he appointed Raheel Sharif, it was just a couple of days before Kayani was to retire. So he literally kept everybody on the tenterhooks till that very last moment. He might
But it
do that
doesn't sort
again
of,
this time.
how did it finally play out? Let's get a final word. What do you expect to happen in Pakistan over the next few weeks? Sushant, you first, and then we'll give the final word to Aisha. Go ahead, Sushant. What do we expect? What can we expect to happen in Islamabad over the next few weeks?
I think a lot will depend upon the kind of crowds that Imran Khan can bring to the streets of Islamabad. If he actually manages to shut down the city, if he actually manages to initiate some kind of bloodshed on the streets of Islamabad, then perhaps the army will find its justification to move in, perhaps even be forced to move in. Otherwise, if it fizzles out the way it could very well fizzle out, then I don't see what the army can do to force Nawaz Sharif's hand. But I suppose the tension is going to be very high. Both the civil-military tension and the political tension in Islamabad is likely to be extremely high for the next couple of weeks.
Aisha, Defy Pakistan is also going to be participating in Imran Khan's protest, and Defy Pakistan has the ideologues of not just the Taliban but also of Hizbul Mujahideen. So all of these guys have said that they would like to participate in Imran Khan's protest. How do you see this panning out over the next few weeks?
I'm glad to mention it because I was planning to mention Defy Pakistan rally. That's 3 days before Imran Khan's rally. It's Imran Khan is going to begin on November 2nd. They're going to come and demonstrate in Islamabad on 28th of October. So they're not synchronizing. Now let's see how does it pan out. I don't think that Imran Khan would be able to push Nawaz Sharif out. I'm not worried about that. I think what I would be watching is the Supreme Court, because whoever tries to remove him would need a legitimacy. And at this point in time, I mean, there is nothing, the situation is nothing. People are unhappy with some parts of the population are unhappy with Nawaz Sharif, but not entirely. There's no environment for a martial law. So the only way that they can legitimize a change or push Nawaz Sharif out, put him into serious trouble, is through the Supreme Court. So that's the institution one needs to watch. And as for Imran Khan, I think even with a failed rally or sit-in, he still gains, because 2018 elections, one prediction is that Nawaz Sharif would win, but the other is that he would really break Nawaz Sharif's back in Punjab, which is important.
Thanks very much, Aisha Siddiqa. Always a pleasure to have you on the show to get those, to get your perspective and details that here in India we don't very often hear of. Thanks very much, Sushant Sareen, as well. What is the Supreme Court going to do in Pakistan? Aisha Siddiqa says is something that we've got to watch out for. Sushant Sareen maintains his argument that whoever the army chief is, it doesn't really matter very much to India because the policies of Pakistan will continue to be the same. He says we've got to watch out for how successful Imran Khans this proposed protest is going to be. How many people can he bring on to the streets? Take a break. When we return, we talk about the family feud which has come out in the open in the most populous state in India, Uttar Pradesh.